And this is extensive. It's been shown in renal transplant. It's been shown in diabetes, maternal child health, rehabilitative services, pediatrics, cancer, asthma, mental health services, cerebrovascular disease, right? The data that we looked at for that MI, when we sort of crunched the numbers, that's just like one small sliver of medicine, right? The number of people that present to the ED and chest pain. It's just, the number is just boggling in terms of how many people that are implicit bias must impact. So that's pretty demoralizing. But why I love this study so much is the silver lining in it. So they knew that basically this was done over computers, right? And they knew that we talk. So they knew that by the end of the study, I think it was open for a month at each site, that like you would be like, hey, did you take it or whatever? Yeah, it's about race, you know. And so they asked up front, a priori, before they took the test, do you know that this is going to be, or sorry, when they're done with the test, did you know that this was going to be about race ahead of time? And then they split them up. And so in this case, again, what I want to look at in particular is the high rate of implicit bias, right? So for folks who were unaware, we remember that they recommended thrombolysis less often than those who had less implicit bias, right? But for those who were aware, look what happened. It flipped. People self-corrected because they knew that that was a problem for them and they didn't want that to be the case. So this is an amazing silver lining, right? Like we can't undo implicit bias or learning about it, but we can adjust for it and we can be aware of it. So what did they conclude? That racial and ethnic disparities exist in healthcare. Even when system injustices and disease severity are taken into account, they exist. And they did the calculations where they said even refusal of service rates do not explain that disparity. So remember when I was sort of talking about like where do you put this break? It's minuscule, minuscule. And so when I sort of synthesize this data for myself, what do I think? Basically, it's like there are 1,000,001 small ways that stack up to large differences between races and health outcomes, and the vast, vast, vast majority of them are inequity. Not difference, but inequity. And for us, the major thing that we can control is our own implicit bias, right? And medicine is particularly suited to fall prey to implicit bias. And why is that? Because there's so much uncertainty in medicine, right? Like we always have to tell our patients, like I hate it when our patients are like, yeah, but the test said this, and you're like, oh, like now I've explained to you like how tests are not like 100% or whatever. We have a lot of uncertainty. We have time constraints, right? You have to make a decision. We have financial constraints. What are you going to do? We can't test everyone for everything. And so what they said is uncertainty can therefore make finding the right diagnosis and treatment plan a challenge for any doctor. But when faced with patients who are from a different racial or ethnic background, doctors may find that their uncertainty about the patient's condition and best course of treatment is even greater. This uncertainty can, quote, open the door for physician stereotypes and biases to affect their judgment of patients' interpretation of the presenting concerns. And so this is the pattern recognition that we're sort of talking about, right? Like medicine, pattern recognition is really, really important. So someone comes with hyperlipidemia with edema and kidney failure. What's that? Diagnosis of, that's the definition of nephrotic syndrome, right? You change one thing. Let's change that to shortness of breath, dyspnea, and exertion. CHF. Yeah. You change one other thing. Change that to chest pain. Heart attack, right? So these patterns, and these are the ones that you were sort of talking about, right? 34-year-old, these are like straight from step one. 34-year-old black woman with joint stiffness and fatigue. What's that? Lupus. Yes. 72-year-old East Asian male with chronic epigastric pain and early satiety, gastric cancer. 7-year-old white child with failure to thrive and lung infections, cystic fibrosis, right? It would be stupid of us if you missed this diagnosis because you were like, I'm not going to be racist. You'd be a horrible doctor, right? Like patterns are important to what we do. It's important to our work. And so how do we balance that? Because it's not just the system, it's our own implicit bias, and how do we navigate those patterns?